How you doing, YouTube? Matt Massive Beer Reviews. We're back with science, son. I mean, this is all the science are belong to us in a, I don't know, steel cage match? I don't know what we call this. It's like a throwdown, a four-way throwdown of sour double IPAs, all from 8-Bit Brewing. All courtesy of my boy Rick, too. Rick from Michigan, he sends off beers quite often. And he sent me off a box of, what was it? I think it was 10 beers, and 5 of them were 8-Bit. I already reviewed their Hazy Pale, but then the other 8-Bits were all these, which is just these big sour double IPAs. And I figured, why not just do them side by side by side by side, because that's a thing. I guess it's a thing. Here we go. So, yeah, we have Avatart, which is a sour double IPA. Pink Guava, Nelson, 8%. We have Into the Thick of It, which is a sour double IPA, 8.3%. Apricot, Nelson, and Strata. Then we have Sour Solvent, sour double IPA, 8.5%. Tangerine, Passion Fruit, Mango, and El Dorado. Last but not least, we have a sour double IPA at 9.5% that's called The Dun, and it has strawberry, raspberry, guava, passion fruit, Citra, Mosaic, and Comet in it. So, yeah. I have a weird, I don't want to say weird, but I have a, I don't know. I don't mind these beers, and sometimes when I talk about them, I think some people get the kind of gist that I'm just not a fan of this kind of style of beverage, I should say, more than beer. I'm not. Half the time I think these are actually quite tasty, but they rarely kind of live in the beer world, at least as far as I can tell. Let's see. I can get my little thing here so you guys can see what's going on, or at least most of what's going on. We'll go from the outside in on these, on the pours. And, but I was curious to see what these would all be like next to each other, because, you know, when breweries are churning out beers like this, or beverages like this, I keep wanting to say the word beverage, because I think it makes a little bit more sense to say that. I think they tend to be just the same base and just subtle variance in fruit. Nothing wrong with that again. This one has a little bit of schmegma going on it. And I think a side-by-side might show a little bit of variance between these. Or maybe it just shows that they are quite similar. So there's your pour. There's your lineup. Honestly, these three over here look all the same. This one looks quite a bit different. As far as dating goes on all these, this one is from May. So this one is from July. This one is from June. And this one be from September. So just to give you guys an idea of timing on these suckers. There's some time on them, so we'll see how they fare. But again, this is purely 100% science, factual science. So, yeah, what do we have going on first? You know, they all look pretty much the same. The first three at least do. This head is just sticking around way longer than the others. And, but yeah, it definitely looks a part of, you know, double IPA, actually more like a hazy pale and then a fruited beer over here. I'm kind of curious to see where the head is sticking around in this one. Not sure why. This would be the June things, June dated beer. So it's not like it's a date thing going on here. But they all look the part of like an IPA, sour IPA, fruited sour IPA. You're not dealing with exploding cans, fruit slushiness here. You're dealing with more of kind of a fruit added to a sour IPA. So, yeah. IPAs, fruited beer. Let's start with noses on this first one over here. What is this? Avatart. Passion fruit. Is there passion fruit in there? Please be passion fruit. Pink guava. That's what I'm getting. So I thought it was passion fruit. It's pink guava. Very much a pink grapefruit, pink guava kind of vibe on it. Tart acidity, not overly sour, but it has that subtle Berliner Weiss style kind of vibe to it. The way the acidity kind of comes off on the beer, but at the same time, it also marries well with the way that fruit kind of comes off. So it smells nice, sweet, not a big overt kind of hopping to this, but I can see where some of that fruitiness is coming from a hop, albeit a little bit aged, still kind of showing up there. So let's see what the second one has to offer. much more reserved nose. I mean, really, really kind of leaps and bounds. And I went on purpose. I went from lower to higher ABV here. And this nose on this is much less aggressive. Almost like more of a berry fruit as opposed to an acidic kind of citrus fruit. Even kind of, just kind of not having that bigger pop of acidity on it. So a little bit lower. And it's a fresher beer, so we can't talk about that. Apricot. So you're talking about Apricot and Nelson Strata, so it kind of makes sense. I'm going to forget which one's which across the board. So it kind of makes sense here because that apricot is that non-acidic fruit. So while it does have this fruit portion of show, and, you know, now thinking about it and reading it, you think more stone fruit. It lacks that acidity that you get over here. And you're talking about that pink guava and Nelson. Pink guava is much like passion fruit for me. It tends to be quite aggressive. So let's dive into this one over here. I forget the name of this one. It's got a little Geiger alien on it. Kind of like a melange of these two over here. So I would assume this one has like maybe a stone fruit and I would go passion fruit now. You know, you'd be like, no shit, you just read what's going on there. Actually, I can't keep track of what's going on. But it does have a soft acidity to it. It does have a nice little soft fruitiness to it. So we got tangerine, passion fruit, and mango. So that kind of makes sense there. So it's got that little bit of soft kind of citrus vibe, that little bit of fruitiness to it, but at the same time it has a little bit of acidity to it. Nothing too aggressive. I think I like that one the best out of the bunch. It's not as aggressive as this one, but it brings a little bit of that to the game. Let's dive into this one. There's something up with this one. There's almost like an umami kind ofness to this one over here. Maybe it's just more. I remember this one over here having strawberry in it. It could be strawberry. Strawberry for me, oddly enough, does kind of come off a little bit umami-like sometimes when I smell it in some of these sour IPAs, because that could be the case. So fruit across the board, but berry, very berry, more specifically kind of strawberry there. None of them smell negative, but as far as the nose goes, I would probably go this, and then this coming up the rear as far as what I like aromatically. Let's dive in to the first one. That's really tasty, actually. I mean, that guava really jumps out here. But it kind of makes sense the way the beer is kind of structured. There's a nice sweetness to it. There's a nice tartness to it. There's a lingering bittering that's not super aggressive, but you get this kind of combination of that pink guava kind of combining with that hopping. What is it, Nelson on this one? Yeah. This tropical fruitiness. It's almost like marrying those two together. Even though it's older beer, it kind of shows up and kind of just pushes this fruit a little bit more elevated. It's not nearly as acidic, citrus-wise. It's not nearly as kind of just tart, tropical fruitiness that the nose would lead you to believe. But it's aggressive, fun, and I like that. That's actually quite tasty. That's good. I'm kind of excited now. Let's dive into this next one. See where this one goes. What do we got going on? I don't want to read it first. Let's taste. Go from there. Yeah. I remember now. That's the apricot one. It is really just straight up apricot juice. And a nice, softly tart. Not nearly as sour. Again, that could be your kind of guava over here, kind of adding more tartness to it than the base would really have. But this comes off a little bit less tart, a little bit more easily drinkable. I like them both equally. I thought I was going to like this one quite a bit more than this one based off of the noses. But, well, this is straight up kind of that nice, rich, kind of stone fruitiness. As far as the taste goes, it doesn't get nearly as punchy on that stone fruitiness as I would like it to be. Man, I like that. That's a cool label, too. That maze is pretty banging. Let's dive over to this Geiger beer. That one's the best so far. It's weird because I'm like going further and I don't know if the flavors on these are kind of influencing the other ones. It's obviously not cleansing my palate between the two. Yeah, see, there is a difference from when I first drank that to when I get down to here. But this one just, man, something about this. This is the one with passion fruit, too. It's that combination of tangerine and passion fruit. We're getting a little bit more Jolly Rancher vibes off of this. And I dig it. I thought I was going to dread this, to be perfectly honest with you. Full disclosure, I did all 4 of these together because more often than not when I get these big sour double IPAs, listen, I'm not a big double IPA person to begin with. I'm not a big sour double IPA. I'm not a big huge fruited sour double IPA person. So I was kind of like looking at these a little bit of a chore. I'm sorry, Rick, but it's kind of how I look at them. Because it's very, very few and far between, and I tend to end up liking these beers. When they hit, I like them quite a bit. But it's generally not the norm when it comes to these styles of beers. I'm enjoying the crap out of this right now. This is actually one of the more funner side-by-sides, because I've done a ton of those. I've done as of late. And I think this is a really cool, fun representation of the style. So that goes to show you preconceived notions, a bunch of bullshit. Drink beer. Let yourself kind of go into it and drink it with an open mind rather than thinking it's going to be poopy. But back to the original sentiment I was trying to say. These already had some time on it. I didn't want to do them individually because it would take me forever to get through them. Like, to be in the mood to drink one of these, it's usually once every week or two, and I didn't want to take like 2-3 months to go through these. So I figured, dude, just bite the bullet, do it side by side, drink them, see how it goes. I'm actually liking this quite a bit so far. Now we're going to dive into this last one. That's strawberry. I'm really kind of curious to see how it comes off. Cheers. It's not bad. It's better than I thought it would be, but it lacks the fantasticalness that these really 3 hold for me. Now over here you have a melange. You have that strawberry, raspberry, guava, passion fruit. So you have a lot of different moving parts here. And that's where I think this one kind of loses me a little bit. Maybe it has just a little bit too much going on to where not that it's like overpowering, but it's just kind of muddled. Strawberry really does come through for me, but there's something about it. It just kind of misses the mark. I think it's that combination of the strawberry with the other fruits, and it just doesn't really make sense. This is almost something I want to touch a lactose in. Just to see how it kind of worked. But not a negative beer, but by far and away my least favorite of the 3. So I'm going to work myself back here and see how these kind of drink going back the other way. Kind of get an idea which one I like best. I think it really is this Tide than this. We'll see how we fare. Back to the Geiger one. Yeah, that's tasty. It's closer than I thought it would be. Man, this is hard. It really is hard. Each one of these. Here. This one, it's last, but it's not bad. It's just the way I dig on these, I just don't really get it over in this one. I think it really is that strawberry. It's kind of losing me there. But the way these 3 drink, similar but different in a very fun, very, very fun way. Across the board, there's nothing super sour here. Mostly tartness. You have an ebb and flow. Tart, not as tart. A bit less than this, but closer to this than this. And this is kind of like a mixture of all of them. This one is kind of neutral across the board. Mouthfeel is actually really nice in these. More often than not, these beers tend to have a little bit of a kind of lack of mouthfeel because of the way the beers are produced and how they're done. That's not the case here. There's a nice softness, silkiness to all of them. But these are distinctly different beers. They're similar but different. You know, that bigger acidity, bigger stone fruitiness, kind of a mixture of the 2 over here. I know this is just, it's tangerine and passion fruit and mango. So there is a combination of a couple different things going on. But yeah, man, I dig these. Way cooler kind of side by side than I thought it would be. But, and it's some of the better double IPAs that I've had in this kind of sour territory, to be perfectly honest with you. Sure, the hops might not be as fresh and as punchy as they were when the beers were fresher, but let's put it this way. Coming into something that is a couple months old, depending on which cane you're looking at least a couple months old, if not, months old, they held up quite well. And they're quite tasty. There's no big sulfury thing going on here. So from that kettle soury kind of base, which these have to be, there's not a lacto base. This is the base kind of kettle sour Berliner style kind of malt, kettle mash kind of kettle sour kind of thing going on here. There's no big sulfury thing going on. They are IPA reminiscent. So you're drinking something that is kind of an IPA, albeit a bit sour. And the fruit additions here come off super organic, super tasty, and super fun, man. I can't complain. Like I said, preconceived notions are not something I try to do, but I went into this going, okay, let's see what happens. And what happened was I dug them. Shooting from the hip, I don't know. We'll go one and tied. That's my kind of vibe I get it towards the end. This one coming up last, not a bad beer. It's a little bit less, or a notch below these three. Yeah. Now you know what we have to do, though. We're going to do the super cuvee. Before everybody gets their panties in a bunch, I know it's called cuvee. Unless you're from Buffalo, New York. And you're Joe from the Beer Patrol, and it's a cuvee. And he's the leading authority in cuvees, so I call it cuvee. Now I'm going to do the 3-beer cuvee, and then add this one in there, because I really want to know what this tastes like. Cheers. It's weird. It's weird. I don't know why, but when you mix these three together, and it could be just me with a subsequential sips each time, that tartness and sourness is kind of lowering. It comes off a little bit more like it's a regular double IPA. There's a tartness there, but it's more that juicy double IPA vibe than I got from each of these individually. I like that. It's very tasty. Now we gotta kind of hopefully not ruin it by throwing this in there. Give that a little bit of a mix. Yeah, it's about the same from each glass. Let's see what this last one offers. That doesn't make it better. Makes it thinner. That little bit of strawberry just doesn't do it justice. But in the grand scheme of things, I had a blast doing this. I'm going to pour the rest of these in there to try to bring that beer back. Again, the last thing you want to do with anything in life, whether it is music or people or lifestyles or, well, maybe not like horrible lifestyles like drug abuse and people abuse or whatever, you don't want to preconceive notion stuff before you try it. And although I've had a bunch of sour double IPA before, and I have enjoyed them before, I kind of thought these might be a little bit kind of hard to swallow. Figuratively and literally. Figuratively? Yeah. That's what happens when you do 8.5%, 9% side by side. Both figuratively and literally, I thought they were going to be hard to swallow. And it is not the case. I should have known that. I know I've had some of the sour IPA stuff from 8-Bit before, courtesy of Rick, and they've been quite tasty, but I've never cracked 4 in a row or in a short period of time and had them all been really, really tasty. Sure, the Don, not necessarily my favorite, but if I drank that without these other 3, it might be a little bit more kind of not as negative, for the lack of a better way of putting it. It's a fun little side-by-side, and I dig these beers. And these aren't, like I said at the beginning, these aren't your fruit smoothie, explode in the can kind of thing. Sure, they're new school sour double IPA with fruit. Some people might just like kind of scoff at that, roll their eyes, but there's fun to be had there, and there's tasty things to be had here. Or is this beer? I actually think these are. A lot of times when I drink these fruited double IPAs, I get, it's more fruity, kind of margarita beverage than anything else. It's more kind of a tasty bevy as opposed to a tasty beer. But there's a lot of beer to be had here. There's a lot of Berliner vibes in here. There's a lot of Berliner Weiss vibes. It's just a super aggressive dry hopped Berliner Weiss, for the lack of a better term, with a ton of fruit in it, but it also kind of leans more beer than it does fruit smoothie or a fruited kind of alcohol drink or alco pop or something like that. So, you know, when I dive into these, a lot of times I'm like, yeah, it's tasty, it's fun, it's whatever, blah, 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 but it's just not beer. I don't get non-beer vibes from these beers. I'm going to call them beers. At the beginning, I was calling them beverages. I was getting angry because I was saying beer instead of beverage. No, these are beers in a very fun and tasty way. Take off the pomp. Take off the circumstance, put down your hair, take off the errors, and just drink this stuff and have fun with it. And I think you can have fun with these beers. And that's the whole point of it. Good God. Who wants to have fun with beer? Who would have thought it? There you go. Weird review in the books. Yeah. I should do more of these. They're funner. So yeah, let's talk about it. Are these some of the better fruited IPAs I've had as late? Yes, Mount Rushmore. Let's put them up there. I mean, it's a very kind of few and far good category, but they're tasty, and I dig them. Let's see. Value and availability on these. No idea, Rick. Tell me what's what. This is a California brewery, I believe. It's California or Colorado, out west somewhere. Tell me what you pay for these, and at the same time, tell me what they cost at the brewery, because it might be different. And not brewery only, I believe, as far as I know. And leave you with, if you like what we like these beers. If you like fruited, soured IPAs, you'll like these. I mean, they're interesting and fun. If you got a chance to try them, try them. If you're just a hater that doesn't like weird shit, you're not going to like these. But if you see one, if you come across one at a share or something like that, and you look at it and go, give it a whirl. I think you might be a little bit surprised, because they're fun. They're fun beers. And beer's supposed to be fun. So there we go. Review in the books. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. Down there if you want to talk about it. Massive Beers if you want to check me out doing the social media stuff. Beer Massif if you want to check me out doing the podcasting stuff. Obviously, let me know if you've had any of these. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this little menage. Hopefully you guys are enjoying some fruited double IPAs right now. Hopefully see you next time. Cheers.